Okay, good evening, everyone. And just so everyone knows, this is being recorded. Welcome to Cristo Rey Boston. My name is Tom Ryan. I just want, if everyone could just mute themselves for just so that we can hear. And Kyle, can you just double check, is my PowerPoint showing up?
It is, yes.
Okay. Okay, great. So thanks again for everyone's attendance. Also, this is being recorded in the event that somebody was unable to make it to this evening. So agenda was all things starting at Cristo Rey in prayer. We will go over, and these not necessarily in this order, corporate work study, expectation and norms for all grade 9 students. We'll introduce some of the teachers, the names and faces of those who will be working with your children. Go over a tutoring program, update on health and safety, and then walk you through some next steps. Our prayer comes tonight from Marion Wright Edelman. And so I ask before we pray that you remind ourselves that, as always, we're in the holy presence of God and the holy presence of each other. God, strengthen our hope for our children's sake. Strengthen our courage for our children's sake. Strengthen our discipline for our children's sake. Strengthen our ability to work together for our children's sake. Strengthen our spirit of sacrifice for our children's sake. Amen. In the name of the Father, Son, Holy Spirit. Amen. Okay, at this time, I'd like to just go through our grade 9 teachers. And what I will do is stop sharing the PowerPoint and just have intro our teachers that are present this evening. And I ask each teacher to give a brief description of their course for everyone here this evening. Sorry, let me just go back. Okay, and to welcome us to all, I'm going to ask Ms. Powers to actually, before I introduce our grade 9 teachers, I'm going to ask Ms. Powers to give a welcome to all.
Hi. I think could someone put their phone on mute? Thank you so much. Hi, welcome grade 9 parents. I have to tell you just how much we have enjoyed already getting to know your students. I feel a special affinity to your kids because this is, of course, I'm ending my first year at Cristo Rey as president and starting my second. So this is the class that I will, get to know, I think, most and most personally. I have to tell you, I think they're off to a great start. I'll let the teachers talk about what's happening in their classrooms and everything, of course. But as I see the students in school and as I have seen those who are learning online, I can tell that they're energized, they're paying attention, they're ready to be successful. The reminder about Cristo Rey, the contract that I talked about that we have, we at Cristo Rey have with your students, with your children, and that we have with you, is that if your students show up to class every day, they're on time, and they do their homework and pay attention, then the deal we have is that they will go to college and that they will succeed in college and graduate from college. That's the contract that exists between us. I remind always both our students and our staff that we are a school of high expectations. We know your kids can and will be successful. Our job is to make sure that they have the tools that they need to be successful, the support that they need so they understand, are able to thrive and really learn in all of their different classes. But that's the contract that we have with you. We have high expectations for ourselves and for your kids. We know that they can succeed. We're going to help them to do that. We're going to get them through high school. They're going to do they're going to do the work. Then they're going to go on to college and they're going to have fabulous and successful lives, not just in the professional world, but also because we're a school that does believe in the dignity of each person, that they're going to be fully rounded citizens of the United States and citizens of the world. So I'm really excited that you're here and that your kids are with us, who are just, so charming and smart. and very well mannered, all of them too that I've met. So again, welcome. I'll get to know, hopefully we'll be able to see each other in person at some point. This COVID thing will come to an end. I know it's a time of stress for your families as it is for our teachers and our staff, but we're all in this together and we're going to come through it and be successful. So again, thank you and welcome. Thanks. Thank you, Mr. Ryan.
Thank you, Ms. Powers. At this point, I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Mullins, our Dean of Academics, who will take you through the next little bit about who our teachers are, and our teachers will have a chance to give a brief overview of their course. And for that, I'll turn it over to Mr. Mullins.
Great. Thank you, Mr. Ryan. So I am going to just read off the name and the subject area of each of our teachers, and they will then take a minute or two just to tell you a little bit more detail about their course. If you have any questions after a teacher has presented about their course, we will have time for questions at the end. And I'd also encourage you, if you haven't yet, to connect with each of your students' teachers individually. So if you have any questions, you might think about sending an email to them directly to follow up on that. First up, I'll start with our ninth grade English teacher, Mr. Matt Levine. He teaches both sections of English 9. Mr. Levine?
Hello, everyone. Thank you for coming. I'll be brief. So my class, it's pretty well-rounded in what we read and what we write. We'll be reading poetry, plays, a couple of books, short stories, and we'll do all different kinds of writing and practice. And really the goal is to make sure that not only are they prepared for sophomore year of high school, but setting them up in a place where they'll be prepared to succeed in college. One thing that I really want to make clear is that I am very strict about deadlines with different essays and assignments, but especially with everything that's going on in this world today, if there's something going on that is causing a student to not be able to meet a specific deadline, then I'm absolutely can be flexible with things like that. So it's really big for students to communicate when things are going on or they may need some extra time. And I think that communication between both of us is going to be really, really helpful.
Great. Thank you, Mr. Levine. Up next, we have our world religions teacher, again for both sections, Mr. Jonathan U. Phelps. Mr. U. Phelps?
Hello. My name is Jonathan U. Phelps. This is my 9th year of teaching at Cristo Rey Boston, and I'm also the boys varsity soccer coach. I have the pleasure of teaching both 9th graders and 12th graders at Cristo Rey, and the 9th grade course is World Religions. So the purpose of the course, why we study the religions of the world, has a lot to do with not just the world, but also our city. We live in a world that's religiously diverse, and Boston is home to many churches and temples and mosques, synagogues, meditation centers, and shrines. If we're going to live together in this city and in this society, we need to understand each other. It is the hope of this course that students will experience personal and spiritual growth as we learn the wisdom of various religious traditions. Beyond this individual benefit, we hope that our students discover ways that people from different religious backgrounds can collaborate to make a more just and peaceful world. As far as the topics of our course, what and who will we study this year? As this is an introductory course, we learn how to learn about religions. In our first unit, which is what we're currently in, we will study ancient Greek mythology, which provides us with stories that are exciting even today. Then we will study the 3 great monotheistic religions, Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. In the spring, we will study Hinduism and Buddhism. We have homework almost every night. Typically, in our current unit, students will have a short story from mythology to read and questions to answer. So far, we've read myths of Icarus, Athena and Arachne, the family tree of Zeus, and the adventures of Perseus fighting Medusa. I'm excited to have your students in my class, and I look forward to getting to know them very well this year, and hopefully, some point soon, being able to meet you in person. Thank you.
Thanks, Mr. U. Phelps. Up next, we'll have our math teacher. Ms. Anna Greco teaches Algebra 1 to both sections of our freshman students. Ms. Greco?
Hi, so I'm Miss Greco, Miss G, I go by, and like Mr. Mullen said, I'm teaching all the courses of Algebra 1. And so in this course, we're going to be focusing a lot of the time and energy on making sure your child is just making up on any content that they might have, fell behind in and whatnot, making sure everything is going well, and also trying to just excel in math. This year especially, I think we have a lot of potential that we're going to be coming out with some great freshmen. So some of the topics that we're going to be focusing on this year is just number sense. That's what we're beginning with. And then we'll go into a lot of linear equations, functions, quadratics, and then we'll be mixing data analysis into there a lot. And that's just a lot of just real world word problems, connections, and trying to link, the math they're learning now into how we're going to be using it in the real world. So the biggest issue right now that's coming up is I know that math is very difficult online. A lot of students are getting quite frustrated trying to, use their touchpad to show their work and whatnot. So I am working with them every day to try to form a good plan that will make sure that they are still, staying focused with their math and not getting discouraged just because of the difficulties of the technology that has come forward. But again, I can't stress enough that I need that communication with you and your child. So I have showed them how to email me, but I think they are still a little new to all that. So if they ever have questions that they bring to you, please just try to help them walk through how to email that to me and get me to understand if they have any type of question or concern with what they're learning right now. So homework, personally, it's probably going to be at least 2 to 3 times a week, depending on how the quizzes line up. And it's really light. It's probably 1 to 2 problems. A lot of times, I kind of motivate them. If we can get through the work in class, we can start the homework in class. Thus, I can answer any questions on the spot. And yeah, that's what the year's looking like so far.
Great, thank you very much. Up next, we have our physics teacher, who is teaching both sections of our freshman students, Mr. Aiden Aravane.
Thank you, Kyle. Yes, I am Mr. Aiden Naravane. Can call me Mr. N. That works as well. The purpose of our course in physics is to get your child to have a kind of a deeper understanding of how our world works, not just when it comes to religion or anything else like that, but in a physical sense, to play off the word of physics. It's a blend of equation solving and theoretical thinking. So at least for our Unit 1, what we've been doing so far is learning the characteristics of motion, understanding the equation of speed, acceleration, reading time charts. It won't be until after that, and then later on, we'll get into our more theoretical work, such as looking at Isaac Newton and his 3 laws of motion, looking at anything with energy, thermal energy or conservation of energy, the more theoretical stuff. I won't be making the students memorize any equations. So when given quizzes or tests, they'll have an equation sheet with them. They'll have a units conversion sheet with them. All they have to know how to do is how to look at a word problem and work it out. The biggest concern that I have is physics is very hands-on. So not being able to be in person and do physical labs is tough. But we do think that we have a good solution. There are a lot of websites that have simulation practices. So your child can it's like playing a video game, just online and thinking about it through physics. So we'll be using that for our labs and our lab reports. I am lenient when it comes to homeworks. I understand this is a strange time, but I do understand, but I do know when students put in their homeworks on time. I give about 2 or 3 homework assignments a week, and they're always due by Friday by midnight. So if I assign a homework on Monday and I assign a homework on Wednesday, they're both due by 11:59 p.m. on Friday. And generally, students have been good with that so far. And otherwise, just excited to continue teaching throughout the year and hopefully seeing all of your students prosper.
Great, thank you very much. Up next, we have Mrs. Jessica Edwards, who is our art teacher for both sections of freshmen this year. Mrs. Edwards?
Thank you, Kyle. Hello, my name is Jessica Edwards. I'm your student's Introduction to Art teacher. As Kyle said, Introduction to Art is mandatory for all freshmen. They take art for 1 semester, and second semester they take Spanish. The beginning of the course is mostly about learning the basics of drawing from observation. We're currently learning about one-point perspective. It's a technique used to create the illusion of depth in a composition. I usually start every project or technique demonstrating, and then students learn step by step in class, and then they usually have a project that's based off of that technique. The projects are mastery grades. The short assignments are effort grades. We do not have homework in art, but the students who are learning from home should be photographing their work from home and either uploading it to the assignments page in Teams or emailing it to me. As the semester progresses, we will work more with paint and collage and paper mache. We squeeze a lot in 1 semester. So I look forward to meeting you all at some point, and thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Thank you. So our last class that we have, our last teacher to introduce is our Learning Lab class, which is probably something that's a little bit new for all of you, not something that a lot of middle schools would have. So our Learning Lab class, just very briefly, has 2 components. There's the Learning Lab portion of it, where Ms. Pedersen and Mr. Naravine are working directly with your students in their full groups, specifically around executive functioning skills and planning, those sorts of things. And then when they have their 25-minute meetings, we'll meet in their advisory groups. So I'll let Ms. Katie Pedersen and Mr. Naravine explain a little bit more about that. Just wanted to give some background details. So I'll turn it over to you.
Hi, so as Kyle said, I'm Ms. Pedersen, and I'd just like to say it's been wonderful working with your students so far. They're really wonderful kids. So really the work that Mr. Naravine and I do is to support all the other classes. So we're working on time management, materials management, basically how to set your students up for success in their first year of high school and then beyond, all the way to when they're graduating med school in 12 years, you know? So these are the same skills that will carry them through their whole professional life. So we're really just explicitly going through, social emotional skills, executive functioning skills, and hopefully trying to build community along the way.
Just to go off of what Ms. Patterson said, these skills that we're working with your child with, it's for us, our goal is to obviously see your child go through academic success, but we want to know that the lessons that they learn in our learning lab, they are able to apply to outside of school in all walks of life. That's the ultimate goal of what we want. What you learn in the building, we want you to apply it outside.
Thank you both very much. This class, by the way, uniquely apart from the others, will be graded on a pass-fail basis. So a lot of emphasis on your students' effort, which one way already that they can really demonstrate their effort and commitment to the class is by making sure that, especially when we're remote, they're logged in on time and having their camera on, actively participating. But otherwise, as Mr. Naravine alluded to, how well your students do in this class will really show up in their other classes. That if they are really mastering time management, material management, their planning, then you'll start to see the improvement in their other classes as well. And Mr. Ryan, I'll now turn it back over to you.
Great, thank you. Just to double check, is the PowerPoint still showing?
Yes, it is.
Oh, okay, great. And just for those of you who've joined late, we will have this is being recorded. So if you missed the first part, you will be able to catch this once it's posted on our website. So at this point, I'd like to turn it over to Ms. Forts. Ms. Forts is our Director of Counseling Service and Operations to give a brief overview of our guidance.
Hi, everyone. So like Tom said, I'm Tanya Forts. I'm the Director of Guidance this year. So with guidance, we are hugely focusing on advisory this year with both 9th and 10th grade. And that's what Mr. Narveen and Miss Pedersen kind of just touched on a little bit. And Mr. Mullen said it would be that 25-minute block in the afternoon. So we're going over different skills: self-awareness, self-management, social awareness, relationship skills, and responsible decision making. So today was our first day of advisory. So that was very exciting. This is new this year, and we're hoping it's going to help build better relationships and a stronger rapport with a lot of our students. So what it is we're breaking up that learning lab class into about a half to a third of the size, so we can get more student interaction, more participation from them. So we are very excited about that. And as on top of that, with guidance, we are here for just SE, social emotional check-ins. We have reached out to the freshman class just to know who their guidance counselor is. So this year it will be Nicole Malika, and both Claire Markey are working with the freshman class and really getting them going, getting them started. So I will also let Nicole introduce herself, and just so you both know and the kids both know, feel free to reach out to us at any point in time if you think your child is struggling with something, maybe socially or emotionally, and we will do our best to help them. We're in the building. Our office is open door policy. We're always there in case something's going on, if they're having a bad day, if they're stressed out, if they're anxious, they just need a minute to cool off, someone to talk to. That's what we're there for. So I'll let Nicole introduce herself.
Hi, everyone. As Ms. Fort said, my name is Miss Malika. I am new to Cristo Rey, so along with your freshmen, I like to consider myself another staff freshman member, but I am so excited to work with your students. As Ms. Fort said, our door is always open, and we hope that your students find our office as a welcoming space. We are available for appointments both remote and in person, so wherever your student prefers to meet, we can meet them there. But again, we're excited to work with them and encourage your students to a pathway of success. So thanks, Ms. Forts.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much for that. Just to round out our staff, we have Mr. Laporte, who is in charge of our student advocacy and engagement. Ms. Claire Markey was already spoken for. Ms. Sklar, who some of you may have heard from attendance. Mr. Bob Fanning is our special education consultant, and Ms. Christina Shea is our literacy and learning specialist. The other person that lives in this world, the guidance, but also a lot of is Miss Elizabeth Ortiz. Really, for the work she does at Cristo Rey. She has a role in guidance, she has a role in admissions, she has a role in academics, really, and is that front person that you deal with, that a lot of our families deal with on that first day. Turn it back over to Mr. Mullins to go through our expectations and norms for our students.
Sure. Thanks, Mr. Ryan. Was there another slide before this with just 3 items on it?
It's after it. Sorry about that.
Oh, okay. Do you mind flipping to that one first?
Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you. So what I want to talk about in these next few minutes, and it will just be a few minutes, I just want to talk about our expectations and norms for the 9th grade team. So what we mean by that these are just a baseline set of expectations that every teacher in 9th and 10th grade has agreed upon to help your students stay organized and stay on top of their work. There's a lot of individual guidance that your students' teachers are giving them with regard to how to specifically turn in their homework, keep track of their assignments, when they'll be having quizzes and tests, each in their individual classes. But these next two slides are policies that apply across the board, things that you can count on being consistent in all of your students' classes. So the first thing, and in a lot of ways the most important one, is that every day in each of your students' classes, their homework and the daily objective will be posted for them on Microsoft OneNote. This is a Microsoft application that we use in conjunction with Microsoft Teams, which is what we're meeting on now. Because we have some students learning fully remotely and others fully in person, we are relying a lot on Teams and OneNote to help everybody stay organized in the same way. Microsoft Teams and OneNote, they are only accessible to folks within the Cristo Rey Boston community. So we don't have separate logins for parents for these tools, but your students with their Cristo Rey email addresses and passwords are able to log into both Teams and OneNote. So if you're interested in taking a look at some of what your students are working on in OneNote or on Teams, you can ask them to log in for you and show you that. A second expectation that we have is around late assignments. Some of your students might be coming from schools where the culture was that work could be handed in up until the end of the quarter. As a school that is focused on college and career readiness, at CRB, right here from ninth grade, we want to get students used to the idea that there are deadlines and there are some firm expectations when it comes to handing in their work. But as a couple of teachers have already mentioned, we recognize these are unprecedented times, and we do want to be able to give students some leeway, some room to grow and to work within these structures. So the baseline expectation is that any assignment must be submitted within 1 week of the original due date to receive credit. Obviously, we hope that students are turning in work on the day it's due so that they don't have things piling up even over the course of a week. But students will have a week from when the assignment was due to be able to hand it in for full credit. If there are if there's something that happens to your family or any ongoing health concerns, things like that, that would make it challenging for your students to be getting in work on time, or even to be taking an exam as scheduled, please just let us know. We are here to work with you. We want your students to have the best possible educational experience. And if that means that there are things going on outside of the school day that we need to help support them in, we will absolutely do that. Please don't hesitate to reach out to individual teachers or to myself or Mr. Ryan to let us know about that. In a similar way, we do have a policy around retaking assignments. We know that tests especially can be a source of a lot of stress and worry for students. So that's why across the ninth grade team, we offer the opportunity for students to do corrections to their tests to earn back half credit. Your students' teachers will explain in more detail exactly what those corrections look like in each of their classes. But generally speaking, students will be allowed to complete corrections for up to half credit back on a test. Similarly, on a case-by-case basis, students may be offered the opportunity to retake a test with a teacher. So a situation in which this might happen would be if a student hadn't had an opportunity to share that there was something that prevented them from doing their best work on that test, and then talks to the teacher after the fact. The teacher may be able to give them an opportunity to take a different version of the exam and earn back some credit. Ready for the next slide when you are, Mr. Ryan. So just three last things around expectations and norms. One of the most common questions I find that I get from students, especially ninth graders in my career, are, can I get extra credit? We have decided as a 9th and 10th grade team that we will not be offering extra credit. The built-in extra credit opportunities that we have here are that week deadline to hand in any late work without penalty, as well as the opportunity to do those test corrections for, again, up to half credit back. The next thing that we are doing across this is in case of all grade levels, not just 9th and 10th. We have asked teachers to have their grade books in RenWeb, which is our student information system, updated at least every 2 weeks. So you can count on every other Monday, let's say, you would be able to see updated grades for your student in RenWeb. But as I mentioned earlier, you can also keep track of your students' assignments and daily objectives using Microsoft Teams and OneNote. So you could also see what they're assigned day to day in there. Lastly, our teachers really want to get to know you and communicate with you just as much as they do your students. We've asked teachers, of course, to reach out if a student's work is trending downward, if things are missing or just not up to the level of expectation that we have for them. But we also want to be able to reach out to you about positive things. There are so many great things that your students do day to day, so many amazing things that we've seen already from them. And now as we're picking up some steam in our third week of the school year here, we do want to be able to tell you about those positive things as well. So please let Ms. Ortiz know if you have any changes to your phone number or your email address, because that will be the primary ways that teachers look to reach out to you, as by phone and by email. So if you have made any changes in the past few weeks or months, please do let us know.
Thank you, Mr. Mullins. Okay, now I'll turn it over to Mr. Paul Bowen, who will go over what is occurring with our freshmen in corporate work study.
Thank you, Mr. Ryan. And may I get the next slide, please, Mr. Ryan?
It is not, Paul, this is, I'm not sure what happened, but this is what's here.
So that's why it's not there. Okay, well, I will summarize it for you. We are thrilled to have your students with us in Corporate Work Study. Corporate Work Study is the signature program of Cristo Rey Boston. It's what sets us apart from all the other Catholic high schools in the city. And we are the only high school where every student goes out to work every year. Unlike a lot of high schools where only some seniors get to go out and have a work internship experience, all of our students get that. And our motto at our school is college ready and career prepared. And corporate work study is vital to both of those things. We've seen our students grow almost as much in their one day of corporate work study going out to work as in the 4 days in the classroom. And when they go to college, it is central to their formation and their college readiness, as well as their career preparedness. And although your students didn't have the opportunity to do foundations this summer in July when we typically do it, the opportunity to do it now in the fall on Fridays, which our training is going to begin this Friday, actually means your students are getting more training than any other freshman class has ever had pre-COVID. Because instead of getting 2 weeks of training in July, they're going to get a whole semester now of Friday training. So I know some of your students are very anxious to get out to work and they would like to speed through the training so they can actually go out and work. They're going to get a really good solid foundation this fall. We'll be offering training remotely from home. So on Fridays, they will stay home, even if you're sending them into our building Monday through Thursday. And like the other students who are staying at home, we're going to follow that basic 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. model. This week, we're going to be getting done early because this is the first Friday coming up this Friday. So we'll be finishing at lunchtime. There may be some tutoring opportunities happening after lunch in the future, and we'll make space for that if indeed that happens. We have a special guest presenter who's going to be meeting with your students this Friday, Mr. Lance Madden. He's a graduate of our school who did his 4 years of corporate work study at O'Neill and Associates, and they helped him get into Holy Cross. And after Holy Cross, he came back and did some volunteering work at our school, and he's now working at one of our corporate partners, Brown Brothers Harriman Bank. And he's got a phenomenal story to tell, and he'll be sharing that with your students on Friday. So right from the very first day, they can get a vision for how all this works and the impact that corporate work study can make in their lives. So that will begin this Friday at 10 a.m. on the 9th grade corporate work study channel on Microsoft Teams. We've emailed out the details to your students about that. We'll be sending them a reminder again of those details closer to Friday. But if you have any questions about the Friday training, please feel free to reach out to us. I have a team of 4 amazing staff members that do a phenomenal job. 2 of them have been here a lot longer than I have been. This is my 2nd year. But it really comes together beautifully. And we're really excited to share this journey with your students. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bowen. At this time, I'm just going to, there's some important health things that I want to go through. I want to do them. I'll get to them at the end of the presentation. But I do want a few other things to get to. One, I was happy to announce every ninth grade student will have a tutor. This is due to the work of Ms. Shea and going out and organizing tutors. They will be virtual, the tutoring program, but we are happy to report that every ninth grade student will have a tutor. Next portion, I'd like to just turn over to Mr. Curran and Mr. Rob Heald to go over through our athletics and campus ministry and some ways to get involved. So, Mr. Curran.
Good afternoon, good evening at this point, everybody. My name is Mr. Curran. I'm the athletic director here at Cristo Rey, and to kind of echo what everyone else is saying, things may look a little different this year due to COVID. As you may have found out, we have planned on moving our traditional fall sports to what they're calling the floating season. Our floating season will start in February, so you can expect boys and girls soccer, along with volleyball, to be played in February, March, in the early part of April, and should conclude right around April break. To fill the holes in there where right now there aren't any offerings, we're going to be offering a conditioning program on Tuesdays and Thursdays. That program will meet right outside the back doors of the school at 3:15. We just want to remind the students of a few things. One, we will not be providing water. This is a COVID issue, and we request that you bring your own bottle with you, full, ready to go. And two, each student will have to fill out a symptom screener every single day that they come to running club. This is part of the state's best practices and the MIA suggestions. You guys will be hearing a lot more from me as we get closer to the winter season, which traditionally starts the Monday after Thanksgiving, as far as sign-up information for that through our sign-up client, Family ID. With that, if anybody needs anything, please feel free to send me an email. My email's right on the website, and I look forward to working with everybody over the next 4 years. Mr. Heald, it's your turn.
Well, good afternoon or good evening at this point to everybody. My name is Rob Heald, and I'm the campus minister. So as Cristo Rey is a Catholic high school, which many of your students have attended before, but for some parents, this might be the first time parenting a student in Catholic school, we do take our Catholicism very seriously. People of all faiths and backgrounds are obviously welcome, but we do certain things that are very Catholic. So for example, I'm sure you've noticed by now, all of your students are enrolled in a religion course. Freshman year is world religions, as Mr. U. Phelps has shared with you. But we're also going to be doing things extracurricular, and then in the building during the school year to reflect our Catholicism. Liturgically speaking, this is very challenging during COVID. So while we would typically have priests come in for all holy days of obligation and major celebrations for Mass, Mass will be done remotely. That can look like two different things. In the spring, we actually had a priest who worked for Cristo Rey Boston record masses specific for the kids, and that was a big success. With the hybrid model that we're working with, it is possible that the priest may be in the library and the Mass will be broadcast to the classrooms. But rest assured that we will do everything in our power to be administering to your child's spiritual needs. Your students, the freshmen, actually have a prayer service. So the prayer service is this Thursday morning. They've just been invited to it, and they'll be hearing about it again from their religion teacher. But it's just kind of like a prayer service town hall meeting where we can get their ideas for saying, okay, we want to build community. We want to make sure that we're nourishing you spiritually. How do you think we can best do this during the COVID-19 crisis? So I will be in touch and be seeing all of you. And once again, I look forward to working with you over the next 4 years.
Thank you, Mr. Heald. I also want to point out we do have a robotics club run by Ms. Polio. She will be sending out information, and those students who, for our robotics club, it's for both students who are in person and remote. We're going to be able to send robotics kits to those students who are remote, so they'll be able to participate. So before I get to health things, just want to have some next steps for our families. FACS, which is our online financial component that all of you have to fill out at the start of the school year. Please be sure that all information in there is up to date. Per Department of Health, students need to have a flu shot unless there's a religious exemption by the end of December. Make sure immunizations are up to date. Over the course of the week, we are going to be sending out information that we're going to ask you to read and sign over. There's the parent-student handbook, there's the permission to treat form, and then the emergency contact form and the tutor agreement. So on the emergency contact form, that is if for students who are live, and if in the event that that we need to, your child shows COVID symptoms, we need to have that person to pick up your child from the school. We cannot release them to the T or to a rideshare service. They have to be released to a family member. Okay, so I'm just going to go back to the health and safety portion of this. So just a reminder every morning to do a symptom check of your child. If they have any of the following symptoms, they have to stay at home. So fever, chills, or shaking, signs of lower respiratory illness, cough, shortness of breath, lower oxygen saturation, fatigue, sore throat, headache, body aches, or any loss of sense or smell or taste, sorry. And then some other less common symptoms but are considered symptoms are any of these stomach ailments. So what do we do just to what happens if your child has been exposed to somebody that has it? They're now considered a close contact. So if your child is a close contact, they have to self-quarantine for 14 days after the last exposure to the person tested positive. So in other words, if they were around somebody that had COVID on Saturday, they have to stay out or self-quarantine for 14 days. Even if they receive a negative test, they have to stay out the full 14 days. So what happens if they are showing symptoms but haven't been around a close contact? They can return to school after they've tested negative for COVID-19 and have improved symptoms. And the big thing is must be without a fever for 24 hours. So say they're just not feeling well, they're showing some of the symptoms. They have to stay home from school. They have to get a COVID test. And then if they get a COVID test and it's negative, they will then can come back to school as soon as their symptoms have gone down. If they choose not to be tested, you have to self-quarantine for 10 days from the start of symptoms, and you can come back to school in the event that the symptoms have gone down and particularly the fever 24 hours after the fever. Okay, other important health and safety things. Remember, masks are worn at all times. Person's health and medical history is confidential. We are not allowed to discuss or disclose. If somebody were to be diagnosed with COVID, we do not release the name. We cannot release the name. That's their medical history, which is confidential. Immunizations must be up to date and flu shot by the end of December. Finally, I just want to announce we have an exciting partnership with BC School of Nursing. Starting on Wednesday, Boston College will be sending their nursing students who are receiving their master's or doctorate in nursing. So they are already registered nurses. They're already trained. They're now getting their master's or their doctorate in nursing. So this is really exciting we have yet another partnership with Boston College, one of the top colleges in the country. So really exciting times for the school. And at this point, I am going to stop the screen share and take any questions for folks that are in the lobby. Does anyone have any questions? And if you look at your if you click on your name, or if you see down below, there's a little hand. You click on the hand, and you may ask any questions. Okay. Well, I want to thank everyone for attending this evening. It was great. It's been a great start with your children. You say they never get a second chance to make a first impression. They've made a great first impression. We also realize that for a lot of you that your child has not been in school since March. And so we are very understanding of that and working with them. And really it's about those good habits that we're trying to reinforce. So thank you all for attending this evening. This concludes our parent meeting. Thank you.